Hi, it's me, Jacqueline. Welcome to my channel. If you are new to the channel, then please subscribe to my channel and join me at Patreon. Link in the description. As the afternoon wore on, people started to leave. Mike hadn't left early like he had planned, and had been talking with a number of his friends, the whole time keeping an eye open for Masumi. There were only about a dozen or so people left, and Masumi was sitting and talking with the school principal, Mr. Gallagher. Eventually, the principal got up and left, leaving Masumi sitting by herself. Mike took the opportunity, excused himself, and walked over to her. She looked up at him and smiled, a different smile than Mike had seen her use with others. "Hi, Masumi. Do you mind if I sit? Please." "And remember, it's Sam," she said with a bigger smile. Mike sat, and the two of them talked like long-lost friends. She chatted on and on, in a nervous sort of way. Mike found out a lot about her, that she was going to be taking junior-level classes and a few senior-level classes, as these closely paralleled where she was in the Japanese schools, and that she was going to be here until the middle of next summer. Mike had a hard time getting a word in. Finally, Mike said, "You know, almost everyone is gone. Think we should help the Gordons clean up. But you're a guest? No problem. I just like to help." He stood and offered her his hand. She took it, and he helped her to her feet. Neither of them wanted to let go, but they finally did. They walked over to where Mrs. Gordon, the host mother, was cleaning up and offered to help. But Mrs. Gordon wouldn't hear of it, as Masumi was the guest of honor, and Mike was also a guest. The two of them then just found a place that needed cleaned and started working together. Kathy saw them and just glared. Mr. Gordon walked over to them and said, "Enough, you two. Masumi is the guest of honor and shouldn't be cleaning up. But, Mr. Gordon, we want to help." "There is so much to do," Masumi said. "You two go sit over there and let us do the work. Masumi is going to have enough chores to do around here after she is settled in." "Yes, Mr. Gordon," Masumi said, with a little bow. "Mr. Gordon, can I talk with you and Mrs. Gordon a second?" "Sure, son. Let's find Mrs. Gordon." Mike turned to Masumi and said, "I'll be right back." Masumi went and sat on the glider. And Mike and Mr. Gordon went off to find Mrs. Gordon. They found her in the kitchen, loading the dishwasher. Mr. Gordon said, "Betty, Mike here wants to talk to us for a minute." "Hello, Michael." "Hi, Mrs. Gordon. It was a great party." "Thank you. It looks like you and Masumi hit it off." "Yes, she's very nice. In fact, that's what I wanted to talk to the two of you about. Would it be all right if I asked her out to a movie tomorrow night?" "I think that would be very nice." "No drive-in," Mr. Gordon broke in. "No, sir. No drive-in. I thought that we'd go to the mall. There are a couple of good movies playing there. It's all right with us. All you have to do is ask her," Mrs. Gordon said. "I know. That's the hard part." "It shouldn't be. You two have been talking for a long time." "Well, I've been listening. She's done most of the talking." "I think I know most of her life story," Mike said with a grin. "Just go ask her. It'll be fine." "Yes, ma'am." Mike walked back over to where Masumi was sitting, and she had been joined by Kathy and Jackie. He stood there for a few minutes. Kathy was ignoring him completely, and Masumi and Jackie were talking about some of the people that were at the party. Mike pulled up a folding chair and sat down. A few minutes later, Mrs. Gordon called for Kathy and Jackie to come and help her. Mike looked over at Mrs. Gordon, and she smiled at him. He moved over to the seat on the glider where Jackie had been, right next to Masumi, and she smiled. "Sure. Anything. You wouldn't want to go to a movie with me tomorrow?" "I'd love to. But I'll have to check with the Gordons first." "No, you won't," he smiled. "I already did." This was the first of many dates. In fact, they became almost inseparable. They went to all the school activities together, including the junior and senior proms. She was at every one of his swim meets. She played on the tennis team, and he was at every one of those. She attended his graduation ceremonies with his parents and helped host his party afterwards. In the year she was in America, they fell very deeply in love and became lovers. When the time came for her to go back to Japan, she became depressed, and it was all that Mike could do to keep her spirits up. She tried to figure on a way to stay, but her parents insisted that she come home. It was a very emotional scene at the airport when she left. Mike worked hard at keeping up a good front to help her get through the separation. He promised her that they would be together soon. Mrs. Gordon took Mike aside after the plane had left. She had never seen so many tears. She sat him down and said, "You fell hard for Masumi, didn't you?" "Yes, ma'am." "And she fell hard for you too?" "Yes." "There are others." "No, ma'am. Masumi and I have really fallen in love. It's going to be hard on both of us, being so far apart. But we're going to work it out." "Here," Mrs. Gordon said, handing Mike a small package and card. "She gave this to me to give to you after she was gone." Mike took it and just stared at it. He was worried, deep down, that it was a final goodbye for Masumi. He slowly opened the card. It was very pretty. The front was a large reed heart that said, "My love." Inside was a nice verse, but that's not important. It's what she wrote, "My love, I have lost my heart to you. You will be mine for always, and we will work out everything, even though we are far apart. The item in the box swears my undying love for you. Keep me in your dreams. I love you, Sam," and it was sealed with a kiss. He slowly opened the package. Inside was a small wooden box that Mike couldn't figure how to open. He finally noticed a small envelope in the bottom of the original box. He opened it. A card inside said, "My love, as with my heart, there are only 3 simple moves to open the box." Following were the instructions, he opened the wooden box. In it was a necklace with a delicate Japanese character hanging from it. Another small note said, "Wear this always. Until we are together forever. Masumi." Mike started crying again. Mrs. Gordon just held him and said, "If you two are really meant to be together, it will happen." Mike took the necklace and placed it around his neck. Mrs. Gordon read the notes, smiled at him, and said, "You two will get back together." Mike was off to college that fall, and he and Sam exchanged emails every day. Sometimes they were very long, sometimes just 3 words. At the end of the first semester, Mike's grades were all right, but not great. Having gone from the honor roll in high school to just squeaking by in college, he knew something was wrong. He went home for Christmas break and just moped around the house. About a week before he was to head back to college for the spring semester, he was home alone, and there was a soft knock on the front door. He opened it, and there stood Sam. They just looked at each other for the longest time. She finally jumped up, wrapping her arms around his neck and her legs around his waist. Their lips met in a very deep kiss. The kiss felt like it lasted hours, but it was only a minute or 2. When they finally broke up, he said, "What are you doing here?" "You're not happy to see me," she said with a fake pout. "I'm very happy to see you. But what are you doing here? Why didn't you tell me?" "I wanted to surprise you." "No kidding. A wonderful surprise. But why are you here?" "I'm going to college here." "You're not." "I am." "What school?" "Yours." "But how?" "I took accelerated classes and finished a term early. And I put my foot down and told my father that I wanted to go to college in the States, and I wasn't going to take no for an answer. And he allowed it? I can wrap him around my little finger." "When did you get here?" "Yesterday evening. I'm staying with the Gordons until I move into the dorm." "Wait a minute. I got an email from you today." She grinned. "No, not entirely. I wrote it before I left, and my sister sent it. Remember the sentence in Japanese at the end?" "Yes." It said, "See you this afternoon. I love you. You need to learn Japanese." He kissed her again and said, "Teach me." "Can I see something?" she asked, breaking their clinch. "Sure." "What?" She reached up, started unbuttoning his shirt, smiled, and pulled the necklace out. "I haven't taken it off since the day you left," Mike said. "I know." She closed the front door, took his hand, and led him to his bedroom. A while later, as they were still laying on his bed, she leaned down and kissed him very deeply. While gently touching his body, she asked, "Do you still have smooth skin?" You said that you didn't make the college swim team, but you haven't let your body hair grow back. Uh-huh. I just like it that way. So, I decided to keep it that way. I thought you liked it that way too. I do. I thought I'd find you all hairy and icky when I got here. I like a soft, smooth, hairless body. Especially your soft, smooth, hairless body. They kissed again and laid there just holding each other for a very long time. Please subscribe for the next part and visit my Patreon page for early access.